Someone said the Odyssey was incredible. Okay, well, keep that shit to yourself, friendo. Okay? Buddy boy. Let me tell you something, okay? I want to go see the fucking Odyssey in 70 millimeter IMAX. But unfortunately, the criminal, disgusting, monstrous piece of shit, Nolan, has made it so that he filmed it and released it on cameras that are too costly, that is where there's like 8 fucking theaters in the country where you could actually watch it in the way that the auteur wanted us to consume it. It's actually insane to do that. He is such a piece of shit, and I hope nobody forgives him for that. Okay? I hope nobody forgives him for that. Dog, there are literally like 70 total movie theaters capable of showing it. And it's hilarious because there are certain movie theaters where you go, and because the burn rate is so high, the projector overheats. The projector over fucking heats. So because it's not designed for a 3-hour feature film and just for like 40-minute documentaries, the projector's overheat. So then you could potentially be one of the lucky few. You could be one of the lucky few that actually puts the money down, is waiting in long lines on the internet, trying to fucking figure it out, trying to figure out if you have some time to watch, and you're at the 12 a.m. showing and it's packed, and you get into the movie theater and then it just overheats and now you're cooked. You can't even watch it. I mean, what do you do? Every time I see the 2 different like side-by-side shots of the giant men and you can't see their fucking heads, you can only see their heads in IMAX movie theaters, and you can only see their heads in the IMAX movie theater. You can't see their heads. It's cut off. Is that real? Is that actually real, or is that fake news? Because that actually soured me on the entire franchise, okay? That unironically soured me on the entire process. It is real. That's unacceptable. I would have to travel multiple states away to see it in 70 millimeter. Yeah. Dog, we live. So, excuse me. Maybe because we're not British, Christopher Nolan doesn't understand how things work in this country. There are entire neighborhoods, states where there are very few hospitals, let alone a 70 millimeter IMAX theater. Okay? For regular folk living in the countryside, for the country bumpkins, they are not going to be able to experience this. And even in the fucking cities, there aren't that many IMAX movie theaters anyway that can show it. Don't suppose you've seen the Twitter lighting up that clip of you sarcastically supporting Mao and saying that you wish for the same of the world of famine and death? Yes, that's what Mao Zedong is famous for, and that's what I like about him. My policy is famine and death. I hate sparrows. Okay, I'm like, when I talk about Mao Zedong, I love talking about the 5 pests, and I love talking about how I think the Cultural Revolution was awesome. So I'm glad that they're people are locked in on the sincerely held policy prescriptions that I have for the American 5 Pest campaign that I will be implementing. Anyway, y'all don't deserve a movie. You're going to complain about this. Nolan has saved the film industry. We're lucky to have him. I mean, I won't lie to you. This shit looks a bomb. It looks so fucking sick. It's kind of annoying how sick it looks. It's also doubly awesome because the Republicans were like chirping. All the right-wing sloppulists were like, this sucks. There are black people in the movie. Blah, blah. Like there is a transgender man in the movie. Why? And it's like, dude, first of all, it's fake. Okay? It's fake. Newsflash, it's made up. Okay? So people have their own interpretations of this kind of thing. Okay? That's what Nolan is doing. So I just need you to understand something. Cyclops don't exist in the real world. I don't want you to freak out. But Cyclops don't fucking exist in the real world. It's fake. Okay? It's a fictional story. You're a fucking idiot. Anyway. God, I got so much more to talk about. What about John Fetterman? 2 eyes. 2 eyes. Spiritually an ogre, but 2 eyes. If you haven't noticed, he looks like he could be a Cyclops, but he's not. He has 2 fucking eyes. Odyssey breaks records and hog brains. Trump defends Bibi over arrest Meta. War is on. We're going to be talking about that. 3 troops killed since MOU. Situation monitor. Houthis join the battle. Michigan heats up. Mainstream media coming after insurgents. Get in now. www.twitch.tv/HasanAbi. I have the privilege and opportunity to meet Toby Doby in my hometown of South Dakota tomorrow. Do I take it or do I let it slip? What do you mean? Never have we ever seen a more pivotal figure in American politics, and you have the opportunity to be around him, smell him. You have the opportunity to be in his shine, you know, as the beautiful South Dakota sunlight bounces off his sweaty skin. And you're asking me if you should take that opportunity. There is no greater opportunity. You should be thanking God every day that you live in the beautiful state of South Dakota and not the gross state of North Dakota. Okay. Anyway, where the fuck do we got some blast off memes or what? Is this how it feels watching the Odyssey in a regular theater? Yes, bro. Yes, this is what it looks like. That's actually a really funny meme. You got a blast off meme for me? I already got that one. Chance's pooped pants. You're right, is costly and time consuming to set up. Yes. It's crazy. It's mind-boggling. I mean, he's on his auteur shit, okay? That's what he is. He's on his auteur shit. He's always done this, obviously. And there are certain elements in Nolan's Nolan mindset that I obviously agree with. Okay, there's certain takes that Christopher Nolan, like certain things that he does that I agree with, like his no CGI mentality. No CGI unless it's like absolutely necessary. Like that's brilliant. I think that's awesome. That I do. That I support 100%. What I don't support is the fact that he's deaf and also seemingly is on a mission to make everybody else deaf. Though that's something that I don't support. I love practical effects. I hate the fact that he is absolutely hell-bent on making sure that anyone who fucking watches his movies in a movie theater is going to go deaf and have the exact same type of deafness that he has. Okay? So that's important. I don't like that. I also don't like how convoluted some of his scripting is. Okay? There are instances where he just goes all over the place. There's obviously a lot of inspiration he's drawn from other other franchises, other movies, and you know, people point to that all the time. And I think there's inspiration, and then there's inspiration, there's adaptation, and then there's just yoinking. And I think he does a little bit of the yoinking. Okay, but you mean Paprika and Inception? Yes, of course, that's what I'm talking about. But overall, at what point do we call it creative theft? Nolan is going to be so mad at you when he lip reads what you said about him. Yeah, I find it odd, but I'll be honest. Okay. Yeah, Spencer Pratt's been losing his mind over me, and DSA Watch too. We'll get to that with the Mao Zedong stuff. So cute. A HasanAbi head family. Shout out to the HasanAbi head and mom. When you're watching Hassan Piker and then you see your son in the background, I don't say much about CJ's adventure, but sometimes I just can't hold back how proud I am of who he's becoming. Aw. That's sick. That's awesome. Also, the shot-for-shot remakes of Heat by Michael Mann in The Dark Knight. Yes. I mean, that one is like, that one you could, okay, listen, the Michael Mann Heat versus Dark Knight, like that one you could at least, I guess you could kind of say it's not like identical. It's not a carbon copy. It's I don't know. I just, that's homage. That you can say is like respect. It's one of the most iconic, it's kind of like this. If I were to say, if I were to say I have a dream that one day people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character, like no one is going to think I'm like I invented that. You know what I mean? No one is going to think I invented that statement. Everyone knows exactly what I'm pointing to, right? No one's going to be like, "Oh, Hassan, like you fucking yoinked that statement. You yoinked that quote from Martin Luther King." It's like, no, it's very clearly like that is such an iconic and impactful statement that has been repeated over and over again, that like I feel as though the Michael Mann Heat versus Dark Knight is in that category. Whereas like that shot, like all of those shots from the bank robbery is so is so iconic that you can see that as a reference. You can see that as an homage. Whereas who's MLK? I've only heard you say that. Yeah, the word you're looking for is plagiarism. I know, but there's a difference. Like there are certain things that transcend beyond plagiarism. When something is like so clearly pointed in one direction, that's why I think the paprika one is like more egregious. Yeah. The Akira slide. The Akira slide is very clearly from Akira. And yet so many other movies now have that Akira slide, the classic, like, bike is like on the verge of falling, turn around. Like that is, everybody knows where that comes from. That is homage. Okay. The Akira slide is an homage to Akira. Everybody understands where that actually originated. Whereas, when you put that in, everybody understands that that's a tribute. Whereas I think the paprika comparison is a little bit more egregious because it's like fucking shot for shot, right? In any case, that's that's some of the thoughts I have on Odyssey that I haven't even gotten to see yet because it's fucking annoying the way that this asshole has shot his movies and he wants to have classic architects and movie directors have the God complex, and I totally understand that because like what is the greatest God complex than to demand that people see your movie in the way that you intended? Okay. One can make the argument that forcing people to watch it in a theater in the day and age of streamers is already exhausting that because there's so many different available options. I understand that, by the way. I do think that watching it in movie theaters, I do think that watching a movie in a movie theater is a beautiful experience. Maybe I'm too much of a fucking boomer. Maybe I'm too much of an unk. Okay, get it out of your system. Call me old if you want. I do believe that we should be going to movie theaters. We should be going to and sharing experiences together. I wish we could do more of that. I think it's a way to. It's a foundational aspect of human existence as a social animal, and I feel like we've lost touch with that side. So, I'm ableist on that front, straight up. I love movie theaters and I want to support movie theaters. Shout out to the Alamo Draft House. Shout out to the Alamo Union. Many HasanAbi heads in that union. Yeah, it's good. Red letter media do not be fucking with the modern theater experience, so I don't be. I mean, there's obviously a lot of elements of the modern movie theater experience is dog shit. It's true. You gotta get like a Disney Fast Pass to get fucking a bucket of popcorn. They also sell burgers now, which is wild. And then you have the sit down dine-in meal theaters that you can go to as well. It's just like, yeah. And then the movie itself is like, however much it is, but then with the bucket of popcorn and maybe a fucking burger or a hot dog or a bag of Skittles, the price point goes up to like $500. All of a sudden you're like, am I buying a Gucci purse or am I fucking going to a goddamn movie? It is what it is. Now you're standing in line for 25 to 35 minutes to get your bucket of popcorn. It's all a part of the experience. It's all a part of the experience. You can't have a meal at a theater. It's weird. I do kind of agree with that too. Controversial take. I like the optionality that exists, but yeah, I I'm not a purist. I've done it. I did it when we went to see Barbie. I went to one of those dine-in movie theaters and I enjoyed it. I had chicken nuggets, like chicken tenders. One of them AMC dine-in theaters. I think it was in Glendale or something. And crispy chicken tacos at theaters slap. Yeah, I've heard good things. With movies being 3 hours long, it makes it a more appealing option. Yeah. But all I will say about Christopher Nolan is this. I got my opinions on the guy. I have shared them throughout the years. A lot of fucking, people who love calling movies film use him as an entry point to claim that they have their actual, like they claim that they have like a real artistic approach to this stuff. And it's like, dude, he's still making like blockbuster hits. Okay. He's not making silent, black and white cinema in the year 2026 of our holy Lord. Okay. He's making blockbuster fucking movies. If you're calling them film, but then also simultaneously being like, this is the guy, you guys simply don't have the mentality. You don't have the background to understand Christopher Nolan, then you're a little bit silly. Like it's obviously not Marvel, right? It's obviously not Marvel, but it's not exactly an art house flick either. Okay. So that's all I got on that front. I just like movies. I like movies. I like watching movies. I watch dog shit movies. I like Christopher Nolan's movies. I love movies. I really do. It's one of the only things that connects me to the, average normie human being. It's like one of the shared experiences that I can have. I love anime. I love manga. I love reading, and I love watching movies. And he makes good fucking movies. All right. He makes good movies. Your last human trait. Yes. Do you like acting too, or is it more the overall art? I mean, the acting is fine. Yes. I mean, I like the overall art. I like it all. I like the experience. I like the experience of going to the movie theater. I like this is one of the last. This is also one of the last like shared global experiences that we can have. So I guess that's part of the reason why I'm just like holding on to it with as much desperation as possible, because nowadays we don't have obviously consensus reality. We don't have a shared reality, and we don't have shared experiences. So things like the World Cup are great for that. things like in America, the Super Bowl is great for that as well. Like everyone is doing the same thing. And I think it's important for all of us. It's important for all of us to sometimes do the same thing, you know, even if we're not super entertained by it. That's why I try to get into the mood with the World Cup to the best of my ability. And you know, and movies are a great way to do that as well. So you know, one day we're going to miss it. One day when it's gone, we will look back at these experiences fondly. How do you feel about what Odysseus Greek did to Troy, modern day Turkey? I don't want to talk about that. Those wounds will never heal. Okay. Everybody knows Troy is in Turkey. Actually, I don't know if people know that. It's in modern day Turkey. So we own that shit. Okay. A lot of people will say, oh, how dare you? Those are, you know, original ancient Greek people. It's like, no, that's us. We own that. That was way before the Turks. It doesn't matter. If it's on modern Turkish land, it's Turkish. Okay. That's it. Those are the rules. Sorry. My mom came in and said, Homer, Ömer, born outside of Izmir, also Turkish. Just some facts, okay? Just some facts for you guys to comprehend, to understand that a lot of this stuff that people say is Greek technically may or may not be considered Turkish as well. Ömer? You can take the Turk out of the nation, but you can't take the nation out of the Turk? No. No. My ancient Greek relatives are rolling in their graves for me just hearing this. All I'm saying is Ömer, which is a Turkish name as well. Yeah. Let the streamer sparks an online firestorm over speech to college dems in mouse-style suit. They're communists. Yeah. His name was Omeros Lemefeal. I'm sorry. You're saying his name is Ömer. Right? That's what you're saying. Ömer, Homeros, Turkish name, Arabic name. Just saying. Where was Homeros born? Oh, that's right. On Turkish soil, outside of Izmir. Another point for Turkish, as someone also pointed out in the chat, Homer, very critical of the Greeks. Who else is very critical of the Greeks? The Turks. That's right. Think about that. No, make this argument about Israel. I will not be doing that. Okay. Also, I'm mostly joking because I know all the Greeks are going to get fucking pissed off for me saying that. You will never be the table. Keep coping. We will be the table once again. We will be the table once again. Okay. Have you heard about the Odyssey boycott democracy now featured? We should be against all occupations. I have no idea what that is. But in any case, J Street, your Singapore segments have finally altered my TikTok algo. Look at what I just got.
You see a man robbing someone in public and you're confident you can stop him. But here's the question. Can you, just a regular, ordinary person, actually make an arrest? Under Singapore law, yes, you could make a citizen's arrest, but only under extremely specific conditions. It's called an arrest by a private person, and here's when it's legal. One is if you personally witness the crime taking place, and two is if the crime is serious and is called an arrestable and non-bailable offense. This includes things such as robbery, rape, kidnapping, causing grievous hurt with a weapon. There are also special cases where you can act if the crime is committed against you or your property, but only if the offender refuses to give a valid name or address or gives false details. Another situation is if a person is wanted under a warrant of arrest but is in hiding. In that situation, a private citizen may be allowed to help and arrest them. But here's what you must know. You cannot use excessive force. If the offender is seriously hurt, even if you've done this unintentionally, you yourself could face serious legal consequences, including prosecution. A real case happened in the past involving members public who detained a person who was taking upskirt video. This person later got extremely hurt and suffered injuries. While no force was found to be excessive, the case highlighted how risky citizens' arrests can be, especially when medical emergencies or stress come into play. So, what do you do after making a citizen?
I'm gonna be honest, I've never seen a guy so drippy. What is going on in the beautiful nation state of Singapore, man? This guy's got an incredible fit.
Arrest.
He's got an incredible look.
Hand the person over to the police or bring them to the nearest police station without any delay. If it turns out that the person didn't commit a crime and you wrongly arrested them, you could sometimes be sued or even charged. So what's the bottom line? The law allows this, but it's not always the safest.
Anyway, good to know. Good to know what kind of legal options we have in the beautiful nation state of Singapore. Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, where was I? All right, we blasted off. So we're going to talk about Odyssey real quick. We're going to get started on Odyssey real quick, and then we'll talk about the numerous controversies I'm embroiled in, all the way from the federal government, the State Department yelling about my Cuba trip still, and what they're probably trying to do. Because ironically enough, we're joking about like more Pegaslop and Pegasus in the beautiful city state of Singapore getting arrested, but like there is a very real, not joking, but very real and sincere effort, I think, being made by the current American government to jam up as many people as possible. And possibly start prosecuting like Democratic Socialists of America and claim that it's a front group for foreign intervention, all this stuff. It's really, really frustrating. We'll obviously figure it out. But yeah, State Department targets Hassan Piker, Ilhan Omar's daughter, and DSA. A new State Department report on Cuba goes after American citizens on the left. Yeah, my suspicion is they're like, well, I'll give you two opinions here. Okay, one is I think the State Department doesn't have like a domestic terror statute. They can't do it because it's First Amendment violation. So they're trying to say, oh, this is foreign intervention. That's why we have to arrest people, because they're getting paid by foreign governments to intervene in American affairs. This is not like an American-born demand. This is an outsider coming in and like trying to fuck up American politics by promoting concepts like socialism, which are very dangerous, right? So that's like kind of a loophole for them to crack open the door to violate the First Amendment, to destroy the First Amendment, and go after critics of the American government, go after critics of Donald Trump. That's definitely something that I have been warning about, and that's something that they have a lot of interest in doing. It's very clear. This is, Mahmoud Khalil was another great example of this as well. They're trying to exhaust. They are trying to exhaust the First Amendment. This is a test bubble, right? They're trying to see if they can chip away at the First Amendment, first with non-citizens, then with citizens. And this is another aspect of it. But before we get to that, Odyssey. Let's finish off the Odyssey story, because I was still chirping about Christopher Nolan. I'm not done yet.
It was an epic box office weekend for the Odyssey. Christopher Nolan's take on Homer's ancient Greek poem brought in, listen to this figure, $260 million worldwide. That's huge, easily surpassing other movies on the planet. Adriana Diaz has more.
The Odyssey stormed the box office over the weekend with this year's biggest.
Have the Hogs missed their mark? this hard before. I think it was like, at least with Baldur's Gate, they weren't like as chirpy about the gay stuff in it. So they knew better. They shut the fuck up. But this one, they positioned this as like a major flop. Elon Musk was actively utilizing Twitter and the Twitter algo to aggressively go after the Odyssey and how bad it was going to be, how the Odyssey was going to suck. People were going to hate it. They were going to oppose it because it's woke. Christopher Nolan is being woke. He made Helena Troy black. He put Elliot Page in the movie. These are unacceptable things. You can't do that. All this stuff. And now, of course, I have many different opinions on this. Number one, this is a fake story, and this is obviously Christopher Nolan's own interpretation of an already fictional story. So what's it to you, dumbass? That's number one. Number two, these people were not even like, they weren't even prominent fixtures of the movie. It wouldn't even be a problem if they were. But who cares? Like, most people just don't care about this stuff. Most people don't care about this stuff. They're exhausted. They have outrage fatigue. The right-wing mobs have gotten to the same point that I think at the peak woke left movements had gotten to. We're past that point, actually, where people are just like, enough, dude, let me fucking enjoy something. You're constantly up my asshole. Enough is enough, right? I think the real problem they should have had is not even the Western Sahara occupied territory and the demands for boycott, but the fact that they did not acknowledge that Omer is Turkish, born in Izmir, and also Troy is Turkish as well. And this is like, you know, seen as this great Greek play, when it's like, clearly it's actually a great Turkish masterpiece. And I think it's really fucked up. So a lot of people are not talking about that, but that's my own personal thing. You know, this is Anatolia, right? This is Anatolia, where Turkey is. And important to recognize that, obviously, but we're just not, you know, we're not gonna, it's fine. That's just a me thing, I guess. You know, I guess nobody cares about that. But we'll talk about the Western Sahara thing too. I didn't realize that there was parts of the movie that were filmed in Western Sahara. And no, I'm not gonna watch the 10-minute Democracy Now video on it either. I'd rather read an article on it.
Live action domestic opening yet.
Ithaca's king is coming back.
No, he's not.
The film, the first commercial feature shot entirely in IMAX, raked in more than $264 million worldwide.
Battle and glory!
Strength and honor! Action!
A majority of ticket buyers cited director Christopher Nolan as their primary reason to see the movie, according to PostTrack.
I will say this, also, Christopher Nolan, objectively more right-wing than most other major directors. Perhaps one of the more right-wing major directors, which is really funny. Because, like, the right are so repulsive and so racist that they are kind of pushing him to come across as a liberal. He's not a liberal. Like, he is a very conservative director. Right? As far as fucking directors goes, he might be, out of the major directors, he might literally be the most conservative. How? I don't know. Have you seen Dark Knight? Please rewatch Batman and tell me how that is not objectively a right-wing movie. Okay? The enemies are literally like socialist, communist terrorists. What are you talking about? The enemies are objectively tailored as like anarchists. Of course, he's not Taylor Sheridan. Taylor Sheridan is like not just like center, right? Taylor Sheridan is like right wing in the American sense. But I mean, Oppenheimer was like Oppenheimer made me reconsider that stance a little bit, even though there's obviously a decent amount of conservatism that he has, but it's clear that he's just like he let the real world incidents speak for themselves. But I think if you look at some of his other work, like it's clear that there is. He definitely has some right-wing takes.
A film industry research service.
It's Christopher Nolan. How can you not be excited for a Christopher Nolan film?
The second reason, the film's all-star cast, which includes Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, Zendaya, and Matt Damon as Odysseus. Damon spoke to us about the exhilarating but demanding shoot, which stretched across 6 different countries.
How intense did it get?
Well, it was the hardest movie.
One of the funniest parts about this, if you guys remember, if you're old enough, in like the early 2016 era when like Gamergate was popping off, but like woke was starting to make develop a foothold in American culture. One of the arguments that right-wingers constantly presented was that woke lefties don't have respect for the classics. Okay? Woke lefties don't want to teach people about the classics. They don't want people to learn about the classics. Oh, the ancient Greek, they were white, and therefore this is Shakespeare. You don't want to learn about that. You shouldn't learn about Shakespeare. Shakespeare was a colonizer. No one should learn about the Odyssey. No one should learn about Homer. That was the idea that right-wingers were trying to incept. The right-wingers were trying to invoke this claim that leftists were very much against. Woke SJWs were very much against the learning about the Odyssey, right? Now, of course, this was never true, but this was never a real thing. However, in the last decade, the right has moved into the column of illiteracy and now see stupidity as not a vice, but a virtue, where they wear it on their sleeve, where they're like, yeah, I'm a dumb guy. That means I'm a real one. Yeah, I'm hateful. That means I'm real. You should be too. Like, we've moved so far beyond like any interest on the right for literacy that they're just straight up freaking the fuck out over this, instead of recognizing this as like, educating the new generation on this epic, on this classic that like people need to learn about. Instead of highlighting that, what a great story about defying the gods or whatever, right? Like instead of taking that approach, they have decided that because they're illiterate racists, that this, otherwise small c conservative classic is actually bad. Why is it bad? Because there's 3 minutes and 54 seconds of a black woman in the epic. And also because there's a trans man in it too, and that's unacceptable. It's a bridge too far. Yeah. I mean, Ben Shapiro is at least fucking smart enough to understand this, whereas many right-wingers have moved super, super far past that point. They don't give a shit, right? Ben Shapiro, I wanted to hold my opinion on the Odyssey until I'd seen it. I know, weird. So here it is. It's a grand spectacle with a fascinating moral core. It's extraordinary. Also, actors shouldn't have said dad. And the casting of Elliot Page is a pebble in the shoe. Irritating and bothersome and unnecessary. All my thoughts here, including Zendaya and Lupita takes. Check it out. Yeah. So, is this because Ben goes woke? No, it's because Ben is of a dying breed. Ben is a hate monger. Ben is a horrible, ultra Zionist, a bad guy in every way, shape, or form. However, Ben Shapiro is literate. And that is why a lot of people hate him. A lot more people hate him because of his Israel takes, certainly. But he is a theater kid through and through. And not only that, but he's also fucking literate. This is not a defense of Ben Shapiro. I despise him. I oppose him every step of the way. There is perhaps nothing that Ben Shapiro and I agree on. Having said that, however, I can still recognize that he is a literate human being and he has like at least some level of culture, which should imply that he knows better, but he does not, seemingly. Educated people being hateful is much worse. Yes and no, because it also doesn't matter because the right have moved beyond the need for educated hate mongers. They don't want that. They just want someone who's a mouth breather. They want an Asmongold. They want someone who is a dumb guy who openly admits that he's a dumb guy. They want relatability. They don't have aspirational goals anymore. In a decade ago, they had aspirational goals. Who would they hype up? They would hype up Jordan Peterson. They would hype up Ben Shapiro. They would try to behave in that way where they're like, oh, we're right wingers, but we're also intelligent right wingers, and we're going to destroy you in the marketplace of ideas. They don't have that anymore. They don't want that anymore. They want Joe Rogan. They want aspirational, or they don't even want aspirational no longer. It was first intellectual aspirational goals. Then it was material aspirational goals, like, you know, all of the wealth and the women that want to fuck you, this hyper machismo with Andrew Tate. And now it's relatability. They're looking for someone who is a lumpenprole in the exact same way that they are, who has made it. That's all this is. That's why that is how I describe the rise of the likes of Asmongold. Bro, Asmold, again, going an hour-long tirade about you, pulling up an immigrant with like 10 links to Destiny's Reddit, very coordinated. Who gives a fuck? Let him chirp. Buddy, I have the federal government after me. You think I give a shit about Asmongold coming after me? Who gives a fuck? Who cares about that nasty little freak? I got multiple governments coming after me. Asmongold should be licking his wounds over this Odyssey take. He farmed outrage on Odyssey so goddamn hard, okay? Non-stop he did. Non-stop. Homer's rolling in his grave. The Odyssey is over after this. The whole internet rejected this. Hollywood is panicking. $2.5 million. Right? And now it's a major hit. And when it became right before it released, when critics were calling it a masterpiece, he said this: I don't think it's a great thing that critics are able to preemptively manufacture a consensus on media like this, especially when this movie has so many hot button social issues tied into it that critics refuse to address. Critics now offer propaganda rather than insight. Bitch, you did that. You're just chirping because you couldn't succeed. They tried to Gamergate the Odyssey. They tried to Gamergate Christopher Nolan. You can't fucking Gamergate Christopher Nolan. He's obviously one of the most famous directors of our generation. Why, like, it's so stupid. You said dollars instead of views? Oh, my bad. Yeah, it's kind of funny that they did this. So yeah, he should worry about that stuff.
Definitely that I've ever done. It felt in a lot of ways more like an expedition than a movie because of the locations we were at. You know, we'd be shooting on top of a mountain. We'd have to hike up the mountain to shoot. And that part of it ended up being really fun because it was challenging for everybody there.
The film is also declaring victory with critics, receiving an A grade on CinemaScore exit polls and 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. The momentum is only expected to continue with Oscar.
The Rotten Tomatoes score is just so stupid too. Like I'm sorry, it's just out of all of the different ways of out of all the different rating systems that exist, I think Rotten Tomatoes is probably the worst one because it literally doesn't tell you anything. That's not 97 on Rotten Tomatoes is not, that doesn't mean that it's like actually fucking, all of the critics are giving it 100%. Hasan, the biggest hater of art? No, come on. This is like the coldest of takes. I mean, seriously. Yeah, it just means that 97% means that like a lot of people gave it you can get a 97% if you got every critic saying it's a 60. Every critic rated it like at a 6 out of 10. I'm not saying it's I don't have issues with people who critique art. Who cares? It's fine. I think it's great. Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes system is interesting because it's like a thumbs up, thumbs down system, basically. And if like a lot of people are like iffy on it, but then there's enough people who just barely gave it like a passing score, then it's like then it gets a passing remark, basically. Anyway.
Already swirling.
I do think it's going to be one of the epic films of the century without question, and to be part of this right now is just part of history.
That is no exaggeration.
You heard.
I used to really like Metacritic, especially because it would compile all of the critics and their overall score, and then it would give you a user score. But Metacritic sucks now, so there's no. Like, Metacritic is ass too because it gets fucking bombed. It gets unbelievable. It's just like the aggregate score was like a decent way to arrive at a conclusion ahead of time. But now you can't even do that. You can't even do that because everybody review bombs. So goddamn annoying.
I'll say that is no exaggeration.